Today is September 5th, 2023. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, two things on today's program. First, on Friday, the pro-abortion governor of Pennsylvania confirmed that on New Year's Eve of this year, so December 31st, 2023, the state of Pennsylvania will no longer partner with an organization called Real Alternatives, which is a network of social service agencies, pregnancy care centers, maternity residences, and adoption agencies that have been serving and offering life-affirming care to pregnant women since 1996. And I did a little research here. In 1995, pro-life Democratic Governor Bob Casey finished out his second term, replaced by a pro-abortion Republican Tom Ridge. But in 1995, Casey and his staff began putting together the nuts and bolts of this program that did take effect the following year in 1996. So kudos to Bob Casey for this. But the state of Pennsylvania was allocating $7.25 million to Real Alternatives, and they would disperse that money to 83 agencies or centers throughout the state of Pennsylvania. Basically comes down to about $87,000 per clinic or per agency, which doesn't sound like a lot of money. But, for a lot of pregnancy care centers, they're always fundraising because they, to be able to survive, they need to continually seek finances, funds, money from a lot of different sources. And this $87,000 would have been a big boost in any CPC's budget. Well, this is, and New Year's Eve, this is all going to end in the state of Pennsylvania by this pro-abortion governor and his legislature, because they're putting together their budget for next year. A spokesperson for Real Alternatives said in a statement that they were shocked by the cancellation. The governor has been, quote, been terribly misinformed about the need for these programs and their success. There has never been a complaint from the 350,000 women who have been served by Real Alternatives. 350,000 women have been served since 1996. These 83 centers throughout the state provide services to 13,500 women a year, from the time a woman learns she's pregnant until 12 months after the delivery. They are soldiering side by side with these moms to help them for their financial, emotional, psychological need, just to get them through that first year after the baby was born. And I dare say that Planned Parenthood or other abortion clinics do not have that kind of track record. Once the woman has had her abortion, does Planned Parenthood do a lot of follow-up 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year after the abortion? I seriously doubt it. The woman has her abortion, she pays her money, she walks out the door, and they just move on to their next patient. Or victim, I should say. Okay. So the article I read also said that Real Alternatives' medical referral program in 2022 saved Pennsylvania almost $400 million in medical costs. So and I've looked at that. So when you're looking at an ideologically driven policy, the state's going to save $7.25 million by not funding or partnering with Real Alternatives. But in the process, the state might be spending $300 or $400 million in providing new medical expenses or medical coverage for these new moms. So, you know, it just makes you wonder where their priorities are. But we know where their priority is. It's abortion at all cost, no matter how much more expensive it's going to be. They do not want, they claim they're for pro-choice. They do not want to give women choices, because real alternatives gives women real alternatives to abortion. The pro-abortion governor of Pennsylvania does not want that. He wants abortion on demand, and these clinics are in his way because they have been successful. Okay, let me move on. I saw last week in the news that there had been a trial on 5 pro-lifers who had been charged for violating the FACE Act in Washington, D.C., and they were convicted last week. And, they very well might receive 10 or 11-year prison terms. So I got to thinking about that. And then I saw in the news, little shift here, that 6 or 7 or 8 climate change activists were sitting in a street, like a highway, not like a interstate highway, but just like a main street. But they were blocking the road, and there were all these cars that had pulled up. And this one woman gets out of the car, and she's shouting at one of these protesters sitting on the ground, saying, "I have to go to work. I have a job I've got to get to. I have a family to provide for." She's just shouting at this woman who's just sitting there holding up a sign talking about climate change. So I got to thinking about these activists who are sitting in the road. Are they not blocking traffic? What is the FACE Act? It's the freedom of access to clinic entrances act, abortion clinic. Freedom of access. Okay, freedom of access. So that woman that was shouting, "I have a job, I have to get to work," shouldn't she have the free access to get to work? Shouldn't she have the ability to get to work, to make a living, to provide for her family? So my question is, why can't the police or the FBI, why can't a law enforcement agency arrest these activists who are blocking highways, preventing people from going to work? Why can't they be arrested and charged with the FACE Act? Now, true, it's not a clinic, but they are preventing the free access of transportation and of commerce. I mean, you may have had a semi or a delivery truck that is in the road that can't get through because these activists are there. What if there's a ambulance or a fire truck that is going through, and they have been prevented by these activists sitting on the ground from getting through? And what happens if a person would have died in a fire, or had had a heart attack, and an ATM was going to come to administer aid? There are some issues here, and why can't these activists be arrested for violating aspects of the FACE Act? It's just a thought. Obviously, nothing's going to happen because the federal government supports the climate change activists. They don't care about us, people who have to go to work. But they do care about climate change. They do care about abortion. And they don't care about unborn human life. That does not exist in their minds. That does not exist. Even though there's an ultrasound that shows the face of the face and the torso and maybe the legs of an unborn baby, they may see that image, but somehow there's a disconnect. They They may see the image, but it means absolutely nothing to them. All that matters is the woman has a choice to kill her baby. So with that, I will let you go, and I will see you next time.